I got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. I got who's its and what's its galore. You want thingamabobs? We're getting to lore 20. Welcome to Wednesday here at Rudros Entertainment, and today's deck is all about this super rare Ariel treasure collector. This card is the name of our deck, our thingamabob control. So I think this could be the new way to play Sapphire and Steel in set 4, Ursula's Return. And this card is very similar to Bell Strange but Special in that it can quest for 5 lore, but it has ward. Now it has a lot of differences, stats are different, it is uninkable. But the big thing of having ward is huge, because the Bell, normally you put it down unless you have Lucky Dime to immediately take advantage of it. She just gets blasted by something off the board and then she's gone. Ariel has ward, so they cannot target her with anything. And as long as you have more items in play than each opponent, this character is going to get +2 lore, so the already great 3 suddenly goes to 5, which is amazing. And I've had some fun matches with this that I can't wait to show off for you. So here's what the deck looks like. I don't know what it was about Blue Steel, but it just felt like it almost fell off a cliff. Just compared to some other decks, it has some really strange / bad matchups. Like this deck will get wrecked by blue-red, but it also does kind of beat up discard just because it has so many answers for the Diablo, which is nice. Not so much Bucky, which is a little tricky, but nonetheless. So let's go in on what makes this deck this deck. So the whole point is around this Ariel. We are playing items. We want to ramp fast. We want to get her out quickly. Originally, I thought, this card's kind of slow. You got to wait till 6 ink, but she's in blue. So if you're ramping quickly and suddenly you're playing her on turn 4 and you have more items than your opponent, turn 5, whatever, and even if you've got a single popsicle, she's questing for 5 lore and she can't be targeted with something. She has decent stats too, so she can actually trade with a goat or a Mim Fox. So how do we help our lovely beauty of the deep here? Well, we're going to need items, and a fourth of this list is items. So we definitely want card draw. So you have 4 Popsicle, 4 Fortisphere for the card draw. Of course, you have 4 Flaversham as well, as he takes full advantage of that. We also want 4 Fishbone Quill. That's going to help us ramp up and get rid of so many of these uninkables that we have. We are running 17 right now. You do want 2 Lucky Dime as well, as being able to Lucky Dime Ariel is huge. Similar to Belle, if you can play her, have the dime on field, immediately pay 2 to get 5 from her. Amazing. Now if she quests, which is a lot easier than Belle because of the ward, and you dime again, that's 15 lore. You can just win out of nowhere. We only run 1 of an Imperial Bow simply to give us essentially something to deal with evasive. We have a lot of targeted removal that can deal with evasive, but it's just a 1 of. You could swap this out for something else if you want, or even just cut it down. Going in with the item theme, we're trying this brand new Scuttle, this expert on humans. Fun fact, I actually played Scuttle in a stage version of Little Mermaid. I really enjoyed that role. I don't enjoy this card so much, though. So you'll see in the matches, you'll decide for yourself whether you love or hate this card. When it hits, it feels very good to play him. He can then sing, what's the song? One Jump Ahead, which is really nice. But when he whiffs, and he whiffs a lot, despite having 15 items in this deck, despite having a fourth of the deck be items, he whiffs a lot. And when he whiffs, he's an Olaf that you paid 1 extra for. That's not very good. So I wonder if it's worth it to cut this card. You could add even more items into this, but you just don't want to get bogged down with items. So I don't know. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with him. It might be worth it to cut him, but for this video, and I wanted to show what I was able to do with the deck, I have left him in here for now. Now we do need ways to ramp out. We're using 2 Mickey Mouse Detective, 2 One Jump Ahead, and of course our Fishbone Quill. I have tried different variations of this, and I don't think there is a 100% correct way to go in one or the other. Some people say you do a full 4 One Jump Ahead because it's the best play you have on turn 2. Scuttle kind of fixes that because he's a good play on turn 2, and now he can sing the one, and then he can sing the One Jump Ahead. The only problem is if you're running into a lot of Emerald, which I am, especially at my locals. If someone plays an Ursula, if they're going first and they play Ursula on turn 2 and rip this out of your hand, it feels very, very bad. Whereas Mickey, at least, they can't get out of your hand. And yeah, he feels a little slower, but he's still ramping you up, which is what you want. So those are our ramp options. We do have a few things in here to essentially combat aggression, which is something this deck absolutely struggles with and suffers from. So I went with the Robin Hood package as a shifted Robin Hood on turn 3. Yes, it's going to slow down something like Fishbone Quill, But he can immediately sing One Jump, he can sing Grab Your Sword, he can sing Zeus, all these removal tools we have. And what I love about him is he punishes aggression, because not only is he taking out their characters, he's keeping up on your lore count too. And he's going to draw a card when he dies if he gets banished. I tried the Hook Smee combo for a while. I think that works fine as well. Like, the Robin Hood does take a lot of slots, so if you don't want to commit 8 slots to this and you would rather do Hook or Smee, your choice. I don't think there's a wrong answer there. It's just what your preferred method is of dealing with early aggressive cards, because otherwise this deck's going to fall behind. On the top end, we have Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. That one ping to the board can be huge. It gets around things like Ward. It beats up on a Bucky, and then her singing Grab Your Sword, or if she comes down and something else can sing Grab Your Sword, dealing 3 damage to the entire board feels very strong. I think it's just, like, we need offensive stuff. Like Tinkerbell, Robin Hood, Grab Your Sword, Along Came Zeus. These are our offensive weapons, along with Smash, along with Baboom, so that when you see that Diablo, bam, you just snipe it, you just get it out of there. Now, on the questing side, what actually helps us win, of course, we have our Ariel Treasure Collector, and also Tamatoa. If you're playing items, this card is a must-play. He can recur any of our items. He is also another threat for the Lucky Dime, so if you can't see the Ariel, you've just got him there, plus he's inkable, so if you see him early, you can go ahead and ink him, which is very nice. I am still on 2 Rise of the Titans. This card is very strange because sometimes it feels amazing, especially if they put out a Queen's Castle, a McDuck Manor. We don't really have great attackers to deal with locations, so Rise of the Titans is essential there. However, in other matches where they're not running that, or they're not even on many items, it's just a dead card. Luckily, you can ink it. Baboom, Smash, these are all in here just to deal with the Ursula that can sing songs twice, with Diablo, with some of these threats that just, they need to die, and you have to get them off the board. And opposing Ariel's spectacular singer who can sing. So this is all just spot removal. You could put in the Storm Rage on. We're already on 17 uninkable. That's kind of the only reason I didn't do that. Plus, we should have enough card draw from our items from our Flaversham. So you could do that. You could also throw in the Beast Tragic Hero. He felt, again, I'm hoping, the idea is that you should have enough card draw from the items in the Flaversham. So you shouldn't need the Beast, and he still has to sit there a whole turn before he can do anything, but you could put him in there, maybe in place of the Robin Hood if you went with a lower Hook package, if you think you need him. I didn't find that I missed him in this particular list. So we know the removal. The last card I want to talk about is Ariel's Grotto. Is this better than McDuck Manor if you're choosing to run a location? It's weird. So it's cheaper. It's 2 cheaper. It's also 2 less health, and it has a condition to get the 2 lore, whereas McDuck Manor is just always 2 lore. And there are times I have thought, man, I really wish I had McDuck Manor right now. But there are also times Ariel's Grotto, when you get a bunch of items in play, is huge, and paying half price for McDuck Manor to get the same lore from it is really good. So I kind of go back and forth on this one. I think you could do McDuck Manor if you just want the consistency, but I do really appreciate this card when it goes off. It does conflict a little bit with Flaversham, as if you are actively breaking your items with Flaversham, you won't get the 3 items in play to get this amount of lore, but in that case, I usually ink it. So I have liked it. I've liked it enough to keep it in the list. Again, your choice whether you think it's better than McDuck Manor, or you just cut it entirely if you'd rather have more items or a few more characters. So, does this list stand a chance in our current metagame? Let's find out. Game 1, we are taking on Ruby Amethyst, my most recent deck list. That is quite powerful, still the king. So early on, you'll want to just see something that either helps you ramp out, ideally a little card draw, never hurts early too. Here we've got 2 Fortispheres, we have a Fishbone Quill, we even have a Mickey. So we have a lot of options here. Ariel's Grotto, far too early for that, so Fortispheres help us keep our card draw going. That's what you're always looking for. You don't have to have a turn 1 play, but because this deck has very low early impact, you really would like a turn 1 play. You want a Fortisphere, you want a Popsicle. Heck, if you throw Develop Your Brain in there, you could do that one as well. Again, we have to favor items a little more in this list. And as you can see, we've already got quite a few uninkables. It's always a question, what do you go for, Fishbone Quill or Mickey Mouse? In this case, I opt for Fishbone Quill because I have so many uninkable cards in my hand, and it's also an item for Flaversham, so if he goes through all the Fortispheres and I need an item to break, I can use him to break that, so I will usually favor the Fishbone Quill over Mickey. The one time you probably don't want to do that is if you do not have a draw engine. If you don't have Flaversham to refill your hand, the ink can actually be a bit of a trap at that point, because if you are inking away your entire hand and you don't have a way to refill it through cards like Popsicle, Flaversham Engine, then yeah, you've ramped out to 6, 7, 8 lore or whatever, ink, but you can't do anything with it, so it doesn't actually matter. Now, at this point, it's on what? Our opponent is on 4 lore. They've got a legacy. I don't have a way to deal with it, but I decide, you know what? I don't think I need to deal with your legacy. I think I'm just going to race you. And I go ahead and give up a Zeus to just put out a Popsicle. I can keep that engine going. Because they're on Ruby Amethyst, I'm not anticipating a ton of aggression. They could hit me with a Maui here. That's probably their strongest play to cut off my Flaversham, which they absolutely do. And they go ahead and banish for the card draw as well. So now, I have the Lucky Dime, however, so I can immediately hit this Ariel, which is ready to go. And let's go ahead and quest with her. I said, yeah, go ahead, you can kill her with the Maui, but I'm going to go ahead and burn the Fortisphere too here on the Scuttle to say, actually, try to bait him into having to use the Maui on the Scuttle. I'm already on 12 lore. It's just our opponent is about to have their 6th turn, and I'm already on 12 lore that I just pulled out of nowhere. Unfortunately, they have the Meta Medusa to do that and to get the Ariel, but hey, that's all right. We have the Tamatoa in hand, and we've already got Dime online. At this point, I can drop the Grotto. It's probably not worth it, though, because there's both a Maui and a Medusa there. They can immediately kill the Grotto, so I just say, okay, here, I'm on 17 lore. Now, you can't quest yourself. You have to do everything to answer me. Yep, and they just give up. Next, we have a green-gray, presumably the discard version. It's kind of what I'm always just picturing in the back of my mind. You never know for sure. I do keep a single Robin Hood here just in case I draw into the shift one. Plus, it's a body I can put out early, or I can just favor the Popsicles. In this case, I opt to get rid of him, put out a Popsicle. If you are going against the discard matchup, it's hard to say. Like, sometimes they'll be bold enough to quest with Bucky, but other times they're not. Here, I just go in for more items. Smash is quite nice in case I need to blow it on something. Grab Your Sword is really good against this matchup too, assuming that Ursula doesn't come down to rip it out. There's Bucky. Are they going to shift the Aladdin? Yep. Uh-oh. This is trouble for us, right? Not only do I now have to discard a card, and so I get rid of one of my uninkables, this Aladdin is going to start breaking our items. That's not good. So this seems like this is an absolute just terrible matchup for us, right? So I actually burn the Smash on the Aladdin just to protect my items. Unfortunately, it slows me down off my Fishbone Quill. I give up Scuttle. I put out Flaversham. I opt for the card draw here. If he continues to make me discard, which I'm anticipating he will, I just want more options at this point. So I put out the Flaversham in this way in case he plays something to break the item. He can't break that either. Zeus blasts the Flaversham, but it is not enough to finish him off. So I was like, okay. Well, yeah, that's fine with me. Let's put out Fortisphere. We'll draw some more. Quest with Flaversham. Get rid of the Fortisphere. What are you going to do? Run Bucky into him at this point? Go, by all means. I've got plenty of Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell's going to be a great way to deal with this Bucky. Put out more Fortispheres, and look how much Flaversham is so good, so good. Granted, our opponent had to take a turn off there, but he is what lets you beat this style of deck. That when they're trying to junk your hand, Flaversham will keep more cards in your hand than he can discard quickly enough. They have to get a bunch of Buckies on the field in order to break that. So very much value Flaversham in your items here. Here comes Belle. I turn off the Beast card draw, as well as get rid of the Bucky. Now he can't discard my hand. I mean, sure, he can kill Flaversham, but if he does that, I can counter kill with Tinkerbell and kill the Diablo, which feels pretty darn good for me. Yeah, he opts not to because he realizes what's going to happen. So I say, I can sing this here. I can just cast it outright. Depends on if I want to get the Ariel. I go ahead and use Flaversham first. Flaversham can really backfire if they haven't exerted Diablo, but in this case, he's not exerted, so I can freely draw without giving up all my own draw. And here I just have Tinkerbell sing. Gets rid of the Diablo. Now I have an Ariel that's threatening to go for 5. And again, look how much pressure we have on. He has his own Grab Your Sword, so he does wipe my board out, but he wiped his own board out. I have now double Ariel. Okay, I'm going to go to 18 lore next turn, if that's all right with you. Yeah, go ahead, play normal Robin Hood. Here's Tamatoa too. Would you like to deal with this? Yeah, this is over. Like, this, if you can get that Ariel out quickly, some decks just don't have a clean answer to it. Next, we have gray and yellow, or some people call it orange. They call it orange on Pixelborn. Either way, it's Steel Amber. And we have our Mickey Mouse and a Quill as our only ramp. This is a pretty solid hand. We even have Baboom on 2 if we absolutely need it. Sometimes in this matchup, you have to be aware of the Cinderella on turn 1. That Cinderella loves to sing Storm Rage on her next turn. Nope, we go for the Robin Hood this time. But if you're not playing characters, then it doesn't actually matter. So I do end up drawing into the Shift Robin Hood, but that's okay. I just go ahead and put out a few extra items. There goes the Cinderella. Here's the Queen. So now I was considering babooming, but since he has 2 viable shift targets here, Queen or Robin Hood, I say, okay, well, you do your thing. I'm just going to go into my game plan. I'm twice as far ahead of you on ink. Gives up a shift Robin Hood for a big Robin Hood. And just starts questing, but I said, okay, so I've got options here. I can Flaversham. I can just Zeus to get rid of this Robin Hood, which I opt to do. And I'm going to baboom it as well, knowing I still have Flaversham in hand. That way he doesn't get a card draw off of it. And the reason I do this is because if he is tempted to Whole New World, well, I've inked up most of my hand anyway. Go ahead, Whole New World at this point. You're going to do what Flaversham is essentially going to do anyway, which is reload my hand. Now, it's tempting to put Ariel out there, especially because you don't want to get a Whole New World it away, but just in case he were to have some way to make me discard, you forgot me, God forbid, this way I at least get some cards in my hand. So I just opt to ink the Ariel. I said, no, it's okay. I'm just going to ride the back of this Flaversham for a minute. There's the flute. Scuttle takes a beating. And there is the Whole New World. But I had a pretty low hand size, so I'm okay with that. Rarely do you want to cast your 1-jumps later into the game. I might sing it with Scuttle here. I may just opt to ink it with the Fishbone Quill. Yeah. So what I do is I use Scuttle for attack, and that way Grab Your Sword cleans up 2 things on the board. Do always be a little mindful when you are playing a heavy draw deck like this against Whole New World. Yeah, I want to get rid of the Ariel, because this way if he does something like Whole New World, I want him to have to hard pay for it. I don't want him to get it by singing for free. But be a little mindful, because Whole New World is at its best when you have a really big hand. As you can see, I actually don't draw cards with Flaversham there. Why? Because I have Tamatoa. I can do it again next turn if I feel like I need to. He uses the Bare Necessities. What are you going to pull out? Lucky Dime? Oh, that's cute. That's really cute. You discarded my Lucky Dime. Well, guess you can get it right back if he feels like it. I can't use it this turn, so I opt to just get back the Popsicle because that's immediate value. I know I can just quest with Tamatoa next turn and get back the dime. Again, I don't card draw. I have Tamatoa Flaversham. I'm baiting him. Go ahead. Hit me with Whole New World. Bare Necessities is going to rip out Grab Your Sword to protect the Piglet. He's on a lot of lore. There's no denying that. So now we'll get back to Lucky Dime. We'll just go ahead and slap that down. And I almost have lethal if I drop the Fishbone Quill, but I just don't have quite. Still, I'm just one or two lore shy of lethal. So instead, I just have Flaversham sing, get rid of the Piglet, take away his biggest lore advantage, and now say, okay, well, what are you going to do? You have to kill this Tamatoa, or I'm just going to Lucky Dime you. Yeah, so this is kind of more your typical Lucky Dime shenanigans. No Ariel in this particular matchup. Speaking of Ariel, hey, check out that new thunderous voice Sonic Warrior Ariel. That's a cool sounding card, but man, it sounds so pricey too, especially to run it without Sapphire. I've seen some versions of this gray-blue using her, and you definitely will want more. All right, so yep, there's Ariel off the top. Bye-bye. Now we have Amber and Ruby. Quite a few uninkables in our opening hand. Get another one with Mickey and another Ariel. This one looks a little rough. We do have 1 jump on turn 2, which is really good. And we do have the Shift Robin Hood package, so that part's nice. And I favored that in this matchup too, thinking these Amber Ruby matchups can go a little aggressive. They don't always. Sometimes they don't. But they can go aggressive and have a lot of characters that you have to answer. So I'm hoping Robin Hood will be an answer to that. Our opponent just inks a Mulan and passes. I don't think I'm really going to need the Imperial Bow. I go ahead and quest with that. I do not quest with your Robin Hood if you were planning to shift it and you know they have even the potential of haste. So if they are on red or purple, do not quest with that card, because the last thing you want is for you to get punished by something rushing out. So there's no reason to shift the Robin Hood right that turn. He's not on steel. He's not going to blast it with anything. The worst he can do is waste a Brawl on it, in which case, okay, well, you just blew Brawl on it. I can play him naturally next turn if I really want to. Gets out a very early Mufasa. This Gaston is very potent for that. I shift into the big one now, and I can take out this Gaston, and I get the first lore on the board. Put a Popsicle to keep our engine going, and we'll go ahead and ink the spare Robin Hood. And we're almost to that point where we can use Ariel, and we have 2 dimes just ready in hand. And right now, usually when I'm facing this matchup, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how do I deal with Mufasa? And right now I'm thinking, I don't think I deal with Mufasa. I think I'm just going to Let Ariel win the game with a lucky dime. Yeah, watch this. So I quest with a Mickey. My plan here is to just outrace him with Ariel and nothing else. Because look at my hand. I don't actually have other items to get back for Tamatoa either. So Tamatoa is kind of dead here. There's Goofy. Uh-oh. He's getting some lore. Luckily, this Maui can't quest. So really the main quester right now is Mufasa. So I said, you know what? Let's race. I am not going to exert this Ariel. Because if I exert it, Maui just takes it out. It has word. You can't hit it with a Madame Medusa. You can't hit it with a Brawl. You can't hit it with an Ice Block. Not that you're playing blue. I think my opponent catches on to that when he sees the dime and I don't quest and says, oh, well, I got to do something. So I quest with that. And now I say, okay, we just got to control the board a little bit, what little I can here. So we go for a Long Game Zeus. I take out one of the Gastons. Yes, it's not as big a quester for Mufasa, but I don't want him playing a bigger card off of Mufasa. Again, I am not questing with Ariel. I am just going to sit here and say, I will just dime my way to victory. I will outrace you. I don't have to deal with Mufasa if I win before he's ever a problem. The only thing I'm afraid of here is a Lady Tremaine. Or I guess the new King Undisputed card. My opponent goes all the way to 13. All right, well, let's check, see what we got. Yep, we'll quest here. And I'm going to go ahead and drop out Smash, most likely. Get rid of this Beast because he has extra lore. I'm just keeping his lore under control. He can't use that Goofy for extra lore if I don't have anything exerted. And now he has to do something. I'm on lethal. I just sat there and waited. Nope. This is what makes this Ariel so good. Because normally the Belle can fall prey to the Brawl, to the Madame Medusa. Ariel is only going to fall prey in this particular situation to a Lady Tremaine. And my patience is rewarded. We quest with Ariel, quest with Dime. Woohoo! And now we're taking on Green-Purple, which was an absolute terror in the meta last set 3. I have heard it's gotten a bit weaker this set. I'm not 100% sure why, because it does have access to great green cards like Diablo, but we will see. So can we keep up with this? Sometimes this deck is insanely fast, and I have used this deck to beat up on a lot of blue-red this set. There's that Merfolk turn 1. We don't really have, again, I can, now Scuttle, here's the one time I do really like Scuttle. Obviously I drew a popsicle off of it, so that helps too. But Scuttle can cleanly answer this Merfolk. So that could be a reason to put even more of them in, although maybe you need to go up on more items. I love the card when it works, hate it when it doesn't. Here's one of the crappy parts about facing this matchup. Look at that. Snipes my one jump ahead out of hand, which would have been an amazing ramp up. Could have had Scuttle sing it. So I go ahead and do the chill, put out the popsicle, get another card in hand, and I just get rid of the Tamatoa. As long as he can't make me discard 2, which he really shouldn't be able to on turn 3 without an Ursula Singer, I have Flaversham to start refilling my hand. And Flaversham, even with an Ursula that can double sing sudden chill, Flaversham can outpace that, as you're about to see. We get rid of these items, we get even more. I go ahead and get rid of the Grab Your Sword, as I have no intention of trying to blast this Fox when I have ba-boom! Now, he could make me discard this Popsicle, but I still have 2 items on board that Flaversham can add a bunch back to my hand. Ursula, yeah, she can grab the song. You can't touch those items, though. All right, what do we get? I go ahead and ink I'm going to Fishbone Quill the Mickey, put out the Popsicle, and I can still put out Tinkerbell here. I go ahead and ink the spare Quill as well. Yes, the one ping kind of goes to waste here, but it doesn't matter. Tinkerbell is a huge body that it's one of the few offensive threats I have. So he puts Flaversham into the hand. He does get Flaversham, and he's thinking, I got the Flaversham. And I'm like, yeah, well played. You did get Flaversham. Guess what I've got? Flaversham with his popsicle. Look at all this draw. We got double dime. We got Fortispheres. We got another Flaversham. I go ahead and send 1 dime packing. I always keep 1 in hand if he makes me discard this dime. Tamatoa can always get it back later. If not, this dime with this Tinkerbell is going to put in some serious work. I think my opponent's trying to sense this as, I better go pretty wide. So I go ahead and use Flaversham. Oh my goodness, look at all this item draw. There's Ariel. We got a Baboom, which I'm not feeling I need at this point. Again, now Ariel lets me go faster than these decks. Say, okay, go ahead. You can flood the board, sir. My Ariel's going to come down next turn, and I'm just going to get a whole bunch of lore. Opponent knows he has to get rid of something. Crab is a really good way to do that, especially with the rabbit. Plays another rabbit to keep his hand fresh and says, okay, I'm going to catch up. He can, but he can't deal with this kind of card draw. Hey, there's Ariel and the dime. Yeah, we're up to 14 already. Also, you're on lethal. Yeah, because this has ward, you're on lethal. You must answer this Ariel. I don't know how you plan to do that when she has ward, so even if you had something like a Mother Knows Best, you can't send it back to hand. That's right, we win. So what did you think? So despite being a deck that wants to ramp and scale, it can also go so quickly at times, especially if you see this early Ariel. Really like this card a lot. If I'm playing Sapphire Steel this set, I think this is the card I'm building around, as it just gives it a unique position it just didn't have before, and it's so much safer than the Bell, even though it is uninkable. So let me know what you think. I appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time. And until then, take care.